Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Midland is back in full force with their brand new EP, The Last Resort, and it is time to talk about it. This is the second major release from the trio this year after their Sonic Ranch album back in March, I believe, although in case you didn't know, the Sonic Ranch was just a collection of old recordings from back in the day when they were forming the band, so it wasn't particularly new music by any means, it was just new to the public, and it definitely felt like old recordings. It didn't feel like a progression in the group's discography, it felt like what it was, a time capsule project. And as much as I do love that album for what it is, the fan in me was just really craving the next chapter in Midland's story. I was craving some evolution or at minimum continuation of what they had built on their first two albums, On the Rocks and Let It Roll. If you flash back prior to the release of the Sonic Ranch, I believe it was Mark Wisetrack on his Instagram saying something along the lines of like, "We hope this holds you over while we work hard on our new album," something like that. So anyways, fast forward to about a month ago, I was almost disappointed we were only getting an EP, unless they have another entire album in the works, in which case, bring it on, but I guess I was just concerned we were going to get a small collection of unrelated songs or just an incomplete bunch of tracks, but that is absolutely not the case. In all honesty, from the rollout, to the marketing, to the music itself, this thing feels like an album, and I'm just as excited to talk about it. Over the last 3 weeks to a month or so, they've been teasing this project, and one thing I think Midland does really well is their marketing. Obviously, they have their unforgettable image and style, but whenever they have new music on the horizon, they really lean into the whole narrative to get you fully immersed before the album comes out. The way they advertised this EP was funny, it was entertaining, and honestly a bit genius because it got me buzzing with excitement. They had things like throwback style commercials being hosted by the guitarist Luke Cutchin.
Come on down to the Last Resort. We got it all. Nice room, check. Friendly staff, check.
Pool in the middle of the desert with no lifeguard.
Check.
Everything on their social media was following this retro, crappy resort theme. They even had a thing where you could text The Last Resort and they would play a 30-second clip of one of the songs as if you were on hold on the phone, similar to what Tyler the Creator did for Call Me If You Get Lost, and even Pop Smoke had a similar thing with his new posthumous album Faith, where you could sign up and get like a scratch-off lottery ticket, and one of the lines you would scratch off contained the title to a track before the track list was released. It's just things like that that get a fan like myself excited, but then there's the other side to the project, the music itself. I'm very bad at this where I often put too high of expectations on my favorite artists, and then they rarely end up meeting those expectations. And my expectations only grew bigger after seeing all of the promo they were dishing out, but The Last Resort is one of those rare cases where the music really met my expectations, and then some. You catch that? And then some. Title of the first track. Alright, you get it. I think the most satisfying part for me at least is the fact the EP feels like a complete project. Not a collection of throwaways or just a collection of songs they've been working on, but it feels like an intentional and complete project that just happens to be 5 tracks. For the most part, sonically, this EP feels a lot more soft rock as opposed to the glossy 70s country soul they went for on Let It Roll. It's still in this throwback 70s style Midland is known for, but they're still exploring within that era of sounds. It opens with And Then Some, which is this beautiful ballad about struggling to get over somebody. Mark is there saying he's finally shaved his face again, he's finally getting his life back in order, finally gets the courage to go back out on the town and be himself again, but then somebody says her name, and then he's right back where she left him. And then the whole chorus is just this snowball effect of and then this happens, and then some song comes on the radio, just a relentless beatdown of memories, and all throughout Mark is trying to convince himself that he doesn't miss this girl, but then he realizes he still misses her, and then some. I just think it's super cleverly written, the production is smooth and longing. I love how the melody in the chorus is pretty repetitive and almost flat for the most part, because it really just engraves this feeling of drag, this never-ending stretch of bad luck where Mark is just begging the world to let him move on, but then this happens, and then this appears, etc. I just think the music works really well with the narrative, and it's super freaking catchy too. I've talked about Sunrise Tells the Story on this channel before. You can check out my full blurb on it in one of the more recent episodes of New Music Friday, but if you haven't seen that, I thought and do still think it is one of the more clever Midland songs. But honestly, the writing on it doesn't even stand out as much as I thought it would, because this EP as a whole was just such a songwriting upgrade in general from Let It Roll. Sunrise Tells the Story is this awesome song explaining a one-night stand as a crime scene, saying how the moon saw it all, the stars were blushing, the night knows the truth, but the sunrise tells the story. I'm not going to go on too long about it. If you are super curious, you can just go check out the New Music Friday episode. And yeah, we then progress into the third track, Two to Two Step. I think this is going to be a fan favorite if I had to guess. If I had to choose one song from here to be the next single, I think this track has single written all over it. It's almost like the Mr. Lonely of the project. It's very quick-paced, a boot stomper with fat electric riffs, a driving beat with some trademark Midland romanticism. It's a simple song about Mark going up to this woman in a bar who looks lonely and says, "Come on and help me dance," because it takes two to two step. I think it's a lot of fun, some great backing steel and pianos, but I do think it is the electric riffs that take it to the next level. There's all sorts of dynamic fills that just really fill the space so well, and I'm not just talking about the bridge, it's in between lines in the chorus, everywhere. It just makes the song so contagious, specifically the one fill around Tootarangle, around the hardwood. I just think it's a jam and they really slam the nail on the head. But then we transition into the second last track and my favorite of the bunch, Take Her Off Your Hands. This song is really just all of Midland's strengths coming together in the best way at once. It's this soft, woozy, hazy bar song about Mark watching this guy just kind of ignoring his girl, not treating her as good as Mark knows he could. He's watching a fool who doesn't know that he's wasting his chance, so he goes up and asks if he can borrow a dance, and I love the line when Mark says to the guy, "You don't know what you've got if forever's just not in your plans." Like, this guy doesn't understand the gem he's landed himself with. He's got a 1 in a million but doesn't know it, like somebody who buys the winning lottery ticket but doesn't bother to remember where they put it, so they never knew they actually won. So Mark is saying to this guy, "Hey, let me take her off your hands, let me take care of her." I think it's the strongest melody. I love how the harmonies are crystal clear and right at the forefront of the mix. Very reminiscent of the sound of Put the Hurt on Me from Let It Roll in 2019. I love the descending melody on the back half of the chorus. For me, it's just the Runaway as the strongest track being offered. And that's no shade to the other 4 tracks. It's just extra praise to this one. A Song of the Year contender for me. I think the closer, Adios Cowboy, is the track that is connected with me the least. Maybe it's because it's directly after Take Her Off Your Hands. I just think it feels a little bit rushed as a closer, almost like we needed one more track in between Adios Cowboy and Take Her Off Your Hands. But nonetheless, I do really like it as a closer. That's the one thing I think Midland has always done well, is their closers to albums. They're always very fitting. They always seem to be these low-key sad farewells, but in a positive manner, as if it's like a see you later message. From Somewhere on the Wind to Roll Away and now Adios Cowboy, they always do a great job of closing. And again, I wouldn't call this a weak track by any stretch. I just think it gets overshadowed being directly after Take Her Off Your Hands. I've probably already talked longer than I wanted to, so I'm going to begin closing this review off. Overall, freaking love this EP. Not that Let It Roll was a drop-off in quality or something out in left field, but I really think The Last Resort is a solid return to form and progression of form for the trio. The songwriting was consistently at a very high standard. The production was gorgeous, it was dusty, it was hazy, it was smooth, it was romantic and seductive. Everything you want from a Midland project. Lead singer of the group, Mark Weistrack, summed it up really well in an Instagram post when it was released. He described it as pure escapism at its core. We wrote and recorded country songs about country stories tinged with a veneer of Midland romanticism. And I think that words it absolutely perfectly. In terms of improvements, again, I think the ending came a little quick, but as far as EPs go, this is about as good as you can get. It feels like such a complete project, from the promotion to the music, and I think that's a massive win for the group, because as I said in the beginning, that's always my concern with EPs, is they're just going to feel tossed together. Looking ahead, I really wouldn't mind if Midland stayed in this lane for a bit longer. I would not mind if their next album stays in this spot. Maybe the album will be a continuation of this. Who knows? All I do know is I freaking love this project. Rating-wise, I'm feeling really good. I don't know if it quite deserves a 9, so I'm going to leave it at an 8.8. And that is all I've got for you guys today. Be sure to comment what you thought of this album in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed. If you're new, maybe consider subscribing for more country music content. Links to both my Instagram and Discord and podcast are in the description below. Be sure to check all of those out. And yeah, until next time, have a great day.